Shada! Alright, we have to look up Shada now. How big is this article gonna be? I'm a little bit scared. I was so pissed off that the prison in Revolution of the Daleks wasn't Shada. It looks nearly identical. It was clickbait by Chibnall. It does look almost exactly the same. Chibbait. Hang on, let me get a picture of the prison real quick on another window, and then we'll take a look at them side by side. I think these two look basically identical. They're both prisons carved out of asteroids. It's clearly designed to make you think, that's Shada. Doctor Who cutting. It's not them cutting corners. It's more them literally clickbaiting the audience by making something that's meant to look like a famous thing and then going, it actually wasn't famous thing at all. It's a little bit like, Jadoon ass chat, 100%. That was what I was about to point out. It was a little bit like the first episode of the third season of Doctor Who when they were advertising that. The way that they framed the Jadoon, it really, really implies that they're meant to be the Sontarans. It heavily suggests that you're getting the Sontarans. And then they bait and switch you. And I am old enough to remember when people were mad that the Jadoon were not the Sontarans and were just some new original alien race. So the fact that now they're probably one of the most famous things about New Who, next to like the Weeping Angels, is really, really funny. Given that the Jadoon were hunting the Doctor for the Time Lords, it would have made sense to send her to Shada. The Jadoon should be the Ogrons. They should just bring back the Ogrons. They're totally different, because the Jadoon are meant to be like space cops, and so you use them to comment on police brutality and stuff. You use Ogrons to comment on private military contractors. I use the Ogrons in the Magnificent Brothers Slevene and the Crown of Lies, where they were incompetent minions to a pair of Slevene brothers. I love how sympathetic they are. Remember when they jailed a Pating after saying a Pating couldn't be contained? Remember when they hyped up the Pating or how dangerous it was, and then Yaz just threw a fucking jacket on it and that was enough to stop it? Shada was the prison planet of the Time Lords, locked in a bubble outside the universe for would-be conquerors of the universe. According to some accounts, it was a literal prison planet. According to other accounts, it was just a planetoid or asteroid, although even then it was sometimes referred to as a planet. The prison was both locked in a bubble outside the universe and time-locked. It was contained by a quantum wall, and its surface was patrolled by robot guardians. All of the spiral politic could be seen moving from its history from a viewing area in the prison. The prisoners of Shada were stored away in their own separate cryogenic cell, alive but frozen in time, in perpetual imprisonment. Prisoners had dragon tattoos which snapped upon their release. Is that the explanation for the third Doctor, John Pertwee, having a tattoo? Is that them like fan wanking an explanation for that? Because that's what it sounds like. How come TV Doctor Who's never done a prison break? I think they should do an episode where there's a mass breakout at Shada, but everything ultimately resolves itself and it's fine because it's a bunch of would-be conquerors of the universe, and none of them will accept any of them being in charge of a potential prison break, and so the riot dissolves itself. During the War in Heaven, when the Great Houses began using their prison planet more often, war criminals began to fit themselves with ice-proof secondary nervous systems to help them in case they were sent there. Recognizing this made it too easy to break out of cryogenics, the Great Houses started directly linking prisoners' nervous systems into self-repeating time frames through the convict tattoos on their upper right arms. The prison stored a backup history of the homeworld as a safety feature should the Great Houses be destroyed or erased from time. Despite its foreboding nature, Shada also contained a gift shop with commemorative t-shirts could be purchased by anyone who, against all odds, managed to leave. The Doctor owned one such t-shirt. Shada was created in the days of Rassilon. The Key to Shada, a decoy book known as The Worshipful and Ancient Lore of Gallifrey, was considered one of the artifacts of Rassilon. Shada also was used by the early Time Lords to imprison dangerous members of other species. For example, 5 million cricket men were stored in their own dimension on Shada after the Cricket War. In a later era, while visiting Shada, the Doctor also saw Sontarans, an Ice Lord, and a Krog amongst the inmates, as well as Zaphod Beeblebrox, and at least 2 versions of Arthur Dent and numerous Daleks. Rassilon, the most retconned character in Doctor Who. Remember when Rassilon was a good guy? The 10th Doctor probably loves Shada with its little shop. Well, you know the 10th Doctor loves imprisoning people forever. So, yeah, he would love Shada. Remember when Rassilon was a dead guy? Yeah, those were the good old days. Meh, he was always a Time Lord. That makes him ontologically a bad guy, whether or not the real writers realise. We know Rassilon was never that good a guy, to be honest. Yeah, but he was always framed as a good guy. I mean, he was always kind of dodgy. It's in the Five Doctors where we learn that he may have been a tyrant. Yeah, and that's 20 years after the show started. That's season 20. Most shows don't even reach season 20. Because they're weak. The Time Lords also imprison many of their own number who devolved into dangerous megalomaniacs in Shada. The heretic was either killed by the Time Lords or imprisoned on Shada after plotting to regenerate the universe. While searching for Salyaven, Skagra assessed the records of war criminal Runga and mass murderer Sabjatrick, who were also prisoners in perpetuity. According to one account, Lady Scintilla was imprisoned in Shada for conspiring with Carrionites. Pros, Shada. Among the last of this category during the Prison Planet original span of use was Grandfather Paradox, who was sent to the Prison Planet shortly after the Renegade Presidency affair as part of a generalized crackdown on interventionalists and subversive elements. The Master was also imprisoned there until the Wardens intentionally allowed him to escape so that he could keep the Third Doctor busy during his exile on Earth, as per the Celestial Intervention Agency's plans. Wait! Does that mean that the majority of the Third Doctor era is a proxy war between Gallifrey's establishment and the Celestial Intervention Agency? Or were the people who were helping the Third Doctor out aware of what was going on? Were they also part of the CIA, or the agency, as they're not referred to in the biz? The idea in the story is that the CIA would monitor and freeze Exile, and sent the Master to test him, to see if he'd join him or fight him. Okay. At some point, Salyaven, a Time Lord with unusually powerful abilities of telepathic control, was condemned to be prisoned on Shada. Although he was remembered by the likes of the Fourth Doctor as having been a genuine renegade in his day, with the nom de guerre of the Great Mind Outlaw. Wow, that's a shitty name. Some accounts suggested he was innocent, having only used his powers for a few harmless pranks. And was sentenced to imprisonment in Shada, either because he had been framed by his own student, the Master, for an attempted breach of the Panopticon. Did Douglas Adams write this? No. The Doctor and the Master should have just kissed and made up. I agree. If only Free flirted back. Free did flirt back. What are you talking about? Some high-ranking Time Lords were afraid of... There's a lot of spelling errors in this. Were afraid of what he might imaginably do with his abilities, despite his obvious disinterest in pursuing political power. At any rate, Salyaven could prove to be the last new inmate at Shada for a long time, escaping his captors as he was being transferred to the prison. He used his powers to craft a new identity, the innocuous Professor Chronotis, for himself and erase all memory of Shada's existence from Gallifrey, so that his absence from his cell would never be noticed. I love that he called himself Professor Chronotis. It's like calling yourself Mr. I am not a Time Lord honest. After discovering Gallifreyan records on his home planet of Drawnid, which have once again been under the control of a renegade Time Lord presidency, the Draminian scientist Skagra sought Shada out with the intention of freeing Salyaven and using his sphere to extract Salyaven's mental powers for his own use, stealing the worshipful and ancient lore of Gallifrey from Professor Chronotis without realizing he and Salyaven were one and the same. Skagra forced the Fourth Doctor and Romana too to use the Doctor's TARDIS and the book to take him to Shada. There he broke out a number of prisoners using the spheres to control their minds, but was ultimately defeated. The Fourth Doctor later borrowed the worshipful and ancient lore of Gallifrey from Chronotis again and returned to destroy the cricket men imprisoned there, but a few other already escaped cricket men let them out instead. Well, this is certainly a fascinating read. With Romana ultimately becoming president of the High Council herself, the Time Lord leadership once more knew about Shada. For example, at a point prior to W time, they sent the Gentleman to their prison after he proved too hard to control. Is the Gentleman also just the Doctor or the Master? However, Romana's knowledge of Shada also had unexpected results when, due to an epileptic fit brought on by the coming of the Carnival Queen, President Romana ordered 300 of Shada's most dangerous prisoners, including Grandfather Paradox, set free. He then promptly cut his arm off, thus freeing himself of the prison tattoo by which he might have been tracked out again, and announced the transition of House Paradox into the more recognizable modern form of Faction Paradox. Oh shit! So that's like their origin story? It's all Romana's fault? No, the gentleman is an evil clone of Chris Shui? What even was the 90s, man? It's all Romana's fault 50% of Time Lord history since the 7th Doctor's era. Why did she do it, though? Why did she let 300 prisoners escape? How? How does one event lead to another? That's what I don't understand. How do you go from I had an epileptic fit, a medical episode, to I'm going to free 300 of the most dangerous prisoners? She was feeling a bit crazy then. Yeah, was Romana like, if I release these prisoners, then I can take credit for recapturing these prisoners, and then they'll call me the hero of Shada. Is that what was going through her head? They didn't call her the party president for nothing. Misogynist writing, making her act illogical so the Doctor has something to clean up. That's probably it.